Hello, I'm Reggie York. This is a presentation on improving routine decision making in a unit of study on organizational decision making. At the completion of this module, you will be able to distinguish between routine and non-routine decisions, identify places to find decision responsibility in the organization, explain the utility of examining decision roles in the improvement of decision making, complete an analysis of decision roles in your agency. As you can see, we'll be talking about decision roles as they relate to, particularly to routine decisions that are to be made. You'll be able to identify also at least one major way that routine decision making could be improved in your agency. This module is about routine decisions, not special challenges. For example, who should be hired to fill a staff vacancy? That's routine. That happens periodically. We can expect that's going to happen from time to time throughout the year. Same is true of the question, who should be assigned to take the next case that's been admitted for service? Also, what will be the treatment plan for JB? These are all routine kinds of decisions, not special problems that have occurred. The last thing mentioned here is how much should be budgeted for financial assistance for next year. That's also routine. You have to do that every year. Non-routine decisions are situations that arise unexpectedly. For example, work performance is below expectations, or there's a new state requirement that must be addressed, and so forth. These are non-routine. And this module will focus on routine decisions. Let's look at some places where you can find decision responsibility. The organizational chart, I'll show you one in just a moment. It shows who supervises whom and broadly identifies the nature of the work to be done in various work units. Also, the agency policy manual is something where you can often find information about decision responsibilities. Policies sometimes indicate who is responsible for selected decisions. So that's one place to look to find information on responsibility. The decision responsibility chart, which we will talk about in a couple of minutes, is another place to find responsibility. This is not something that you routinely find in an organization, but it is something that I would suggest you consider developing. It reveals the level of responsibility for each routine decision. Let's go back to the organizational chart as one place to find responsibility. Here is a typical one where at the top you see you have the executive. Answering to the executive is the treatment manager and the intake manager. They both relate directly to the executive for their supervision and so forth. The treatment manager has treatment unit staff, treatment unit 1 staff and treatment unit 2 staff. So we can see that the treatment manager has 2 units of staff members that answer to that treatment manager. Then the intake manager has intake staff. This is a very simple organizational chart. Your organization probably has one far more complex, but I want to point out the fact that you can see something about decision responsibilities by looking at who answers to whom. Let's look at the idea of decision responsibility charting. Now, this shows a set of decisions and a set of organizational actors with a level of responsibility given in each cell of the chart. I'm going to show this to you as an example. Here we have actors in the columns: clinical director, clinical supervisor, primary therapist, agency director. These are 4 critical actors in this particular hypothetical organization. In the rows, we have decisions. For example, the first decision is admitting a client to service. The second one is developing a treatment plan. The third one is treatment review. And the fourth one is discharge. You can see as you look inside the chart what is the level of power over the decision that is exercised by the individual actor. For example, the clinical director is the leader in regard to admitting a client to service. This means the clinical director is responsible for that. If something messes up in that regard, someone doesn't get admitted or someone doesn't get assigned or whatever, then that's the person to be yelled at, so to speak, by that person's supervisor. The clinical supervisor, as you can see in regard to admitting a client, going across the chart here, the clinical supervisor is a consultant. That means the person must be asked for their opinions, but does not have power over the decision. Look at the agency director. It says this person is collaborator. Collaborator is a person who has decision power because this is a person who must agree with the decision in order for it to go forward. So the collaborator and the leader, in a sense, share power in regard to this decision that's been made. But the leader is the person who typically in a situation of admitting a client, the leader would go through the process of deciding who should be admitted and not. Would probably put that forward to the director, who would then, in many situations, might just say, "Okay, fine," and that would be that. As you can see then with the developing of a treatment plan, the next decision there, the primary therapist is the leader there, with clinical supervisor and clinical director both being collaborators, meaning that they must each approve the treatment plan. So here we have a set of decisions and so forth. I want you to pause right now, look over this chart, and ask if it is clear, and then answer this question too. Which decision will probably take the most time? Okay, hit the pause button, look at that, and come back to me. Okay, I'll assume you've come back to me after thinking about this. Well, there is one decision, the discharge, that has roles of 4 different people. You have a leader, two actors who are consultants, meaning they have to be asked about their opinions. But those opinions do not have to, you do not have to agree with them, but you have to ask and take into consideration what they have to say. Then the agency director has to approve it there, as you can see, because that person has been given the collaborator role. Well, I would say that's probably the one that's going to take the most time because all 4 actors are involved at some level. Each amount of involvement will take some time. So that's why I would suggest that probably will be the decision that takes the most time. Let's look at decisions and roles. A decision is a choice made at a point in time. A role is the set of expectations of a person in a given station in life, such as father, son, supervisor, executive director, best friend, etc. In a father-son relationship, the behaviors of the father are expected to be different from the son. If you see someone who is the son acting like they're the father to their father, then you would say, this is not right. This is a little strange. The last thing there, it says a best friend is expected to do more for you than a casual acquaintance. So again, we're talking about the expectations you have of someone because of the role they have been designated as playing in the life of the organization or in your life. We talked about the decision leader. I said a minute ago, the leader is the person responsible for seeing the decision is made. Decision collaborator is the person who must approve the decision. This person may be actively involved with the leader or merely serve as the person who can veto the choice. But the choice cannot be made without this actor's approval. If this is a group, the majority of the group must approve. That's the role of collaborator. Consultant is a person whose advice must be solicited prior to the choice, and that person's advice must be taken seriously. You shouldn't ask someone to be a consultant and then not paying attention to what they have to say because you're just trying to fool them. That's not good, and that will hurt you in the long run. When you think about decision roles, you could think about analyzing them. You could analyze the decision chart by decisions or by actors. If you think about by decisions, for example, uh, and potential problems with role perceptions, going back to the decision uh, chart. Uh, well, I'm sorry, that's next. Analysis by decisions for this given decision, is there clearly a leader? Is there only one leader? You should not have more than one leader. Things can get confused under those circumstances. And of course, there must be someone who is leader. Uh, are there too many collaborators? This could make the process too bureaucratic and reduce efficiency. The more that people participate, the more time it will take to make the decision, and the more time it takes to make the decision, the less efficient is the decision process that you are using. Same could be said about too many consultants. Even though they don't have to approve, at least you have to take them seriously. Each thing you do in that regard will take time and will reduce your efficiency. Another question is, are key actors left out? Analysis by actor, are there actors with too much responsibility? If the director is the leader on everything, does this person have the time to make good decisions and provide good leadership? Are there actors with too little responsibility? For example, my role has not been given either consultative or collaborative responsibility. Are there key actors who are left out? What's wrong with this picture? I'm going to have you pause and look at it and then come back to me after you've had a chance to digest it. Okay, I assume you're back to me now. The first thing that grabs me here is the first line, hire new intake staff. This thing has three different people who are designated as the leader. Uh, that may be okay if you're talking about different staff, but we're talking about intake staff, one kind of staff, where you should not have more than one leader. The second one has the same problem. You have for selecting new client for admittance, you have two people who are the leader. I would say too that another issue is the executive is the leader on three of those, and collaborator on one. You have to wonder, does this person have the time to do all that? Okay, look at this situation, pause, and come back to me. Sorry, I hope you've come back to me now. Well, as you can see, in the case of Joan, um, she obviously the policy uh, has not been fulfilled uh, as designated. Therefore, you're going to have some kind of conflict between those. Look at Parker Thompson signs decline of service without the signature of the intake supervisor is called and who is called for in the agency intake policy. These both are situations where apparently there is a violation of the policy. This can lead to people losing confidence in the policy or having conflict with one another because they have not engaged in the appropriate role they were supposed to be playing. This one, the executive announces he will consult with staff, um, but in fact is found he already has made up his mind. Well, that's sort of a dishonest way to go about it, and that's not obviously not good. Um, you could ask, one of the things you might do is ask various actors to independently file the chart to see if they perceive roles differently. Okay, I hope this is helpful to you and you can make some use of it.